Basically, man, I'm sitting there, I'm real young, going through all my hardships, just left Buffalo, New York. I have nothing. Never had this feeling before of watching inspiration. I didn't know what inspiration was. I just knew, like, just pain and suffering. So when I saw this guy who was Rocky getting knocked down and getting knocked down and getting up, so I was intrigued. So I sat back and watched it a little bit more. And Apollo was supposed to be the best person in boxing. And what brought my attention was it was like a perfect storm for me, was the music was perfect. It was a perfect scene for me to like almost gain strength. And I see this guy in the corner who reminded me of me, guy couldn't read, just kind of this dumb boxer. But he had something that I wanted. Mickey was saying, his trainer was saying, stay down, and he didn't hear anybody. All this guy wanted to do was go to the distance. He didn't want to win. He just wanted to be able to go to distance. And when he stood up, off getting knocked down for like the 30th time, and I'll never forget the look when Apollo Creed finally thinks he won. His back is turned to Rocky as Rocky's getting up, and as Mickey's saying, stay down. And once Apollo turns around, he looks at Rocky, that he's now standing up in the corner. And the referee is standing beside Rocky. Rocky's like, hey, man, I'm good. And when Apollo turns around, the look on this massive man who's the best boxer in the world, his face is just distraught. Like, who are you, man? And when he's kind of wobbling in the corner, he's like, no, man, not today. I just want to go against the best. I want to know that I am somebody. And he gets his gloves and he motions him back over. And Apollo's face, he like puts his face down and he shakes his head. And I'm like, that's what I want. That's what I want. So that scene was like, that's how I want to feel, because I was almost Rocky. I could feel how he was feeling. I know the pride he had to feel by, I stood up again. And the pride he had to feel after going 15 rounds with the best person. He didn't win, but it wasn't about that. It was the fact that for the first time in his life, he knew he was something. He was somebody. He wasn't just some old bum from the street, as he said. And I wanted that feeling. So I knew to get it, I had to train. Something like Rocky did, but even harder, because this was a real situation for me. This was real life. So I started to create the real Rocky. I wanted to be the real version of a movie. But that's the hard part, though. That movie's inspirational. And in my life, there's a lot of times in my life where it wasn't so inspirational. There's a lot of lonely moments where there was no going the distance song in the background to keep me going. There's a lot of times, there's a lot of quiet times, a lot of failure, a lot of disappointments, a lot of starting from scratch. But that's when I started to develop a different mentality. And I started to develop a mentality of, this is where it's at. Where you find out where you're at is when you're at the lowest part of your life. So I started to develop a whole new mindset. Like, the lowest part of my life used to make me feel bad. The lowest part of my life now, it actually gives me strength, because I know so many people stop. That's where they quit. When they get to the sewer of life, versus looking at it saying, oh yeah, now let's see what's up. Let's see what's up now. Let's see the millions of men out here in this world. They're not going where I'm willing to go now. This is where people stop. And this is where I started to develop the different mentality is. You want to test my resolve? You want to test my ability to go the distance? You want to see where your life ends and mine begins? That's where that mentality started for me. Because I started saying, man, you always end up in the dungeon. You got to find strength in that where no one else does. So that Rocky movie was a little bit of a spark, but to become that person, it takes a lot. It's how you look at it. A lot of people, like I was talking about, taking the path of least resistance. I believe in life you must earn the right to be called a man. And a lot of people do not think the way I do, and that's fine. I'm not asking you to be David Goggins. Trust me, it's a hard road to hoe. It's not fun all the time. But the thing about it is, you have to look, I looked at my hardships as challenges. Once I got over the pity party, because I went through that phase. I'm a normal human being. But I realized that got me exactly where I was at, even worse. As I looked at those challenges the way most people do, woe is me. I wished I was better. I wish my parents were better. I wish I had a better education. I wish this, I wish that. They have all these wish sandwiches. So the one thing we don't do is when we're in that dark place, That dark place is a great learning environment. If you can sit back in a dark place and find quiet to just think, there's so much power in your failures, in your suffering, because why? You're still alive. So you gotta look at that. My God, man, this is power, man. Like, now I gotta flip this shit. How many men will be able to do what I'm about to do, what I'm about to try to do? Like, literally, what gave me strength was when I was at the worst of my worst. How many men would even say they want to try to be a Navy SEAL right now? I'm at the worst spot of my life. Like, I can't even walk down the street, let alone run down the street. And I'm gonna now call a recruiter up and try to be a SEAL. There's a lot of power in that. But people don't see it that way. They see it, man, that's stupid. So for me, how I found peace was through my story, going back through my life, seeing where I came from and where I'm at now. Seeing that journey. But the thing about it is you have to see the journey. First of all, you have to start your journey. And many of us think because we're born into this world that we have started our journey. It's not it, man. That's not it. It's not that simple. I wish it was that simple. Many people have died and lived to be 100 years old and never started their journey. That journey starts when you start to meet yourself at that battle. When you start to battle yourself and start to break down those walls that you in society start to build in your own mind. Once you start to break down those walls, you've now started your journey. Your journey has to be hard at first to get through the other side to find peace. But what happens to a lot of us is, even happened to me, I had to become sick. God made me sick and I couldn't run. I couldn't push anymore. So I had a lot of time to think about my life. And I never reflected back. Through reflections where you find peace. I never reflected back on where I came from and where I'm at now and all the things I overcame. You have to slow your life down enough to respect what you've done for yourself, all the things you overcome. So to find peace, you need reflection. You need a lot of reflection to go back through and respect the journey. So through there, you find your peace. Growing up, my dad did a good job of dehumanizing me. He didn't care much how I thought or how I felt. So when I saw the military uniform when I was growing up, I thought to myself, if I can get that uniform on, I would find honor in wearing the uniform. So not only did I want to be in the military, I wanted to be in special ops. But I realized to be in special ops, you gotta know how to swim. So I got a how-to book on swimming. The first page was easy. Float. So I went to the pool, tried to float. I sank right down to the bottom. I realized I was negative buoyant as hell. The more I failed, the more my father's words would creep into my mind about how I'm not good enough. As time went on, I started realizing the more I didn't quit, the more self-respect I gained. And the power was all mine. In life, it's important to do one thing. Many people will try to dehumanize you. It's up to you to find self-respect and dignity in yourself. You don't need a uniform to have honor. You need to have pride in yourself, dignity. Stay hard.